This is it. The beginning. Consider this the first day of your trading journey. Everything in this course is tested, proven, and absolutely worth your time. Our mission has always been to show you the strategies and the edges that professional traders use and to teach you how to use them yourself. Because when you finish, you won't just know more, you will be more. Happy Monday. We made it, boys and girls. I get some W's in the chat. That was hot. Am I good? Am I good? Am I good on audio? Audio check, check, check. Yes, yes. By the way, yeah, we did put a little intro in there. If you want, I'll drop the link in the chat right now. Just kind of, I don't know how to pin it, but there it is. Happy Monday, everybody. Masterclass. Yeah, that was the apprenticeship, by the way. That thing is massive. It's coming out. We're dropping soon. Well, we're actually starting to drop already. But that's coming out like Netflix season. So a little bit at a time. It's available now. Book a call, see if it's for you guys, and love to have you in there. But that is how you get in the server also. But yeah, is it over? I think that's the question. Is it over? Are we in the clear? Nobody really knows. Nobody really knows. Yeah, W's in the chat. Looking. Yeah, it is. W stands for we love Jason. Hot. We tried. Oh, just keep booking. Come in the server, by the way. There's a link, free link for the server. Server's free if you want to come in and hang out. If you want to trade with us, the deal is we're done selling these monthly subscriptions. Actually, we're done. I think we're going to change the whole fracking industry. We're out of that, but you can come with the server. But if you do want to trade actively, we do still want you to take the apprenticeship. So we are maybe so back. I love that. Maybe so back. You know, it's really close. It's really close. I think, what was it, Thursday, we told our crew, and if you're in the chat, which is, again, free, hop in. If somebody knows the link to get there, shoot, we should drop that. I think I can just copy a link. Boom. You know what? Just go to papergains.com. How's that? Papergains.com has all the links for sure. Let's see if I can get join free Discord. Yeah, papergains.com. Yeah, I know we opened up the chat, but if you want to take the trades, like you gotta know how to trade. So we don't want anybody there that's like, we don't want anybody FOMO into, follow my trade kind of stuff. That's not what we're trying to do. But yeah, man, how about that Palantir? Paper Gains on OnlyFans? Dude, you have no idea. We got some new swag. This is a new shirt. By the way, non-farm payrolls coming this week. Believe it or not, non-farm payrolls coming middle of this week. we do have. There's only gains. If you haven't seen it, VD, I want that shirt. It's up there. Maybe we'll give some away. But anyways, let's get on with it. Welcome, by the way, guys. If you're new to the channel, appreciate you showing up. Make sure you like the show, subscribe to the channel, share it, whatever it is. But what we do here every Monday, as long as the market's open. Today, I had a little family doctor's appointment. Good appointment, by the way. Maybe we announce some stuff later on. We'll see. So it's early. Yeah. We got a bounce. You're getting a bounce for sure. very, will this be recorded? Oh yeah, no, this is live on the tubes of YouTube. So have at it. Palantir up how much? 6.5% today. I don't think she's done. I mean, maybe done for the day, but I don't think she's done. I put a post out on Twitter. I think it was end of week or last week, towards the end of the week. Read that post if you haven't seen it. But in that, I put like zoom out, look left. How do we manage what we're doing? What's going on in the markets right now? I think big breakdowns across the board. Some support levels, pretty heavy support levels breached, but a good bounce should at least come up and retest some of those. Which means, think about that for a second. Palantir's support broken at 165. We're at 125. That's a 30% rebound just to retest support. Robinhood, I know they got earnings this week, but $70 lows, $110 is support that failed. They're like $100. That's like a 50% bounce from the lows. So these are for sure tradable. We should say, hey, look, we're in a counter trend kind of bounce. AMD 180s something. I think we see 225s, 227. So because of that, because of where we are, I don't think it's over, guys. I think we have a little bit more, and then we get into boom. We start instantly hitting, major economic data. HIMSS is different, man. HIMSS is totally different. HIMSS is ugly. That was in the teens. I think that was called for, but yeah, they got another legal issue today. The chart show, it's not bad. The chart show. Yeah, Broadcom, big bounce. AppLovin, massive bounce. So we are in what we would call an oversold bounce area. I think things got a little bit too hot, too heavy. But sometimes, depending on how far we go, and this is going to be key, depending on how far this goes, that's going to make the rest of the market, right? So on my post, I think I said the only thing that stops this from being like a counter trend rally is like QQQ making all-time highs this week. Look, we have a lot of stuff ahead of us. And, I think the downside clearly done for a little while. And even if we do pull back, the good news is that wherever we pull back to, as long as what you want to do is go back to Thursday's lows and kind of like draw a line on your charts, go back to Thursday's lows. And as long as we're holding above that, so maybe like 50% from whatever this bounce takes us to in between then and Thursday's lows, gonna be pretty good support, at least for another little bounce. And if we can hold those lows from Thursday, maybe we'll know. But next week, almost definitively, I will have a final answer on exactly where we're going to go, because NFP day on Wednesday, believe it or not. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen really quick. There you go. The Bitcoin bounce. Who's to say if Saylor's going to take him out of the grave? Go, Joe, look at this guy. You never know. But MSTR, I haven't even looked at it today. And BMNR, like, my God. Oh, yeah. MSTR is up again today. This thing went to sub $100 in short order. So look at that. Actually, I'll tell you what. I know for a fact that this $130 level is actually pretty key pivot on MSTR. Super key pivot. I don't think we're done. One day, I'll know. We will know post Wednesday. But yeah, appreciate you guys asking. I feel good. Maybe I don't sound that great. But anyways, let's get on with the show. So again, I'm going to try and go through this pretty fast. We got a live market right now. We usually do this a little bit earlier, but before that goes, I don't think that we're done. So I think we could see a little bit more push to the upside. How far? TBD. SPY 7000 is in the cards this week. How's that? I'm not sharing my charts. We're not doing the charts yet, but SPY 7000 is well within range. This should be good enough. But here, so we got some data last week. Just want to go over it really quick. ISM manufacturing and services. You know, if you didn't know, we're a services-led economy, so ISM services is actually pretty important. In parentheses here, that is the expected number. So that's what was priced into the market. We come in pretty much in line, 53.8 versus 53.8 prior. Manufacturing PMI, a little bit better than expected, so that's cool. And job openings, which is different than quits. So there's JOLTS openings, JOLTS quits. This is for the month of December. Job quits slightly higher, nothing major. Pretty much everything's in line, and same with consumer sentiment. So for the most part, in terms of the actual data, mostly in line. I just want to touch base really quick on this guy. This is actually a CME FedWatch tool. So you go to the CME website and see how many rate cuts or what's the rate that's projected moving forward. And so up here at the top, you can kind of see this is where we are. This is for the next meeting. Next meeting is not until March, and they're expecting 82%. Is this a cut? Shoot. I think that is not a cut. 375. I don't think that's a cut, but maybe it might. So 1, 2 rate cuts for sure priced in for the rest of the year. Oops. Which is here. So you have 1 cut between now and April, and then 1 cut between towards like Q3. And that's it. Everything else, which is odd. And so like, I mean, odd, maybe I should watch my words, but there's no more rate cuts priced in to this market till, what is that? Through the entire year of 2027. And I think that's the thing to kind of watch. Not so much, do we get a rate cut this coming March or not? And also, you know, we have a new Fed chair coming in, which for whatever reason, the market thinks is hawkish. I'm not thinking that Warsh is really super hawkish. But maybe he wants to go about the rate cuts. Oh, it's not a cut. Cool. Not a cut. So this is what's going to be interesting, because if this is no cut, yeah. So they're saying no cut, and then this is 1 cut, and then this is the second cut. They're not till way later. We'll see about that. We shall see about that. But this is what's priced in the market today. So if this starts to change at all, and it will start to change after Wednesday, I guarantee you that, then that's when things are going to move around. We always think, you know, we always think that the Fed, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is what's not going to happen. You have an idea coming into the year, and it never turns out exactly the way that you think. So I think it's still kind of up in the air. In terms of the rest of the week, this is where it gets really big. So what I was saying earlier, Wednesday, look, biggest day of the week, non-farm payrolls, and then this is like nearly back to back. Look at Microsoft go. Wednesday, non-farm payrolls, and then Friday, core inflation and CPI. Massive pivot week. So between now and then, here's to support a bounce. I think fears might have been a little bit overdone. We bounce into tomorrow, which is the day before non-farm payrolls, and then maybe we pull a little bit back. Who knows? And then we actually get the data. So between now and then, I think we can see this bounce. And on Wednesday, we find out what the real story is. So it is all about Wednesday. What's cool about Wednesday is that this is, you guys remember the government has been shut down for so long. And normally we get this non-farm payroll on the first Friday of the month. Obviously, it's not the first Friday. It's going to be like a Wednesday, random day. This is January non-farm payrolls. You guys know that? So because this is January non-farm payrolls, we're finally I mean, finally up to date on these NFP numbers. And, being so far behind for so long, I think was a big part of why we saw so much volatility. So after this, I think that volatility should subside a little bit, which is pretty good for swing traders. In the meantime, the day traders are having a field day right now, let me tell you, because this is just getting insane. But yeah, huge milestone actually to be able to finally say, hey, look, we're caught up. Super Bowl ads showed us this market is all AI. I mean, yeah. Did anybody bet on the Super Bowl or in the Super Bowl, like these prop bets, Super Bowl ads? There was like, I think the Coinbase commercial was like at the very last commercial that finally went through. And dude, it was so funny. Because I saw it was like 90-something%. Everybody knows Coinbase is gonna like they announced it, blah blah blah. Same with HIMS. But like it wasn't coming. And like the odds went from like 96 to like 65. And then boom, there goes the commercial. I'm like, holy crap. But yeah, it is crazy. It is crazy. I bet on Bad Bunny and won. You should see the sports betting. Like the crew was so heavy on Seahawks. This was like one of the. I took a little bet. I don't even think I've gotten paid, dude. Our hoodie, whatever. Okay, I think I just got paid out, but the Robinhood freezes like in the third quarter or something. I saw that and I'm like, dude, they were stuck at like 230 billion or something like that of revenue. That's like $20 million on just Robinhood for just the who's going to win the game, not even prop bets. And I think this was I read a bunch of stuff. It was like this year Super Bowl betting was like 45% more than last year. That's insane. And about like 50% of it was prop bets. So thank God Hoodie finally got like last minute additions. They got all their prop bets out, combos, things like that. Seahawks and the unders, by the way, probably like a banger parlay. It was tight. I had Seahawks money line and I had under 43.5. And live bets. I had Seahawks money line and under 43.5. And like the last 2 minutes, it was like 2.5 minutes of the game. I'm like, oh my God, if there's a field goal, I lose this bet. And thankfully I didn't lose it. But yeah, it was wild. For this guy, probably best that Hoodie froze for a bit because I think Hood froze at the second that the Patriots finally got a freaking touchdown, which probably saved a lot of people trying to like buy some super cheap contracts. But yeah, Kalshi, dude, Kalshi's numbers, I think today came out like some insane number. Like I don't know if anybody knows what the Kalshi actual release came out. It was gross. I would have doubled my take. Sure. But yeah, I mean, I had unders. I had Seahawks in the unders. I think the crew in the channel, we had, what was it? Seahawks -4 or something, or 3. Seahawks -3. You parlay it, whatever. Sharky and the crew had like under 23 or 21 for the first half. Pretty much like hit. So great game. This is what's cool about the Robinhood business model is that Robinhood doesn't care if you win or lose. Just so you know, they're a market maker in all this. When we see DraftKings report, they're going to have a number. It's called handle. So in the sports book business, like whether it's FanDuel or DraftKings or whoever, I think it's Flutter is the ticker. They're not gonna have if you actually read into that, it's a totally different business model. those guys, DraftKings, Flutter, FanDuel, actually need the consumers to lose to make a lot of money. And that is called a handle, essentially. Like, how much juice did they make on the bets? Actually, I shouldn't say they need the consumers to lose, but if it's a really hot game, which I think it was pretty, yeah, look at this. Under was a slap. You know, I think everybody was on Seahawks and the unders. I think because of that, DraftKings probably didn't make that much money. Because that's not how their business operates. On the other hand, Robinhood, Kalshi, they just make money on transactions. So again, totally different business model. Don't get it twisted. But volumes was massive. Was massive this week. Yeah, they cash on juice. Exactly. They cash on juice. What we call it's a slang. Juice is like the rake, if you will. They cash on the rake. But if the rake wasn't enough, they kind of get the short end of the stick. But anyways, big week this week. Moving on. Great game. Almost thought it was gonna be scoreless for a while, but not the case. So we get a little bit of a whipsaw this week. So non-farm payrolls on Wednesday. First time we're finally up to date. So we could have a pretty decent reaction. And then CPI on Friday, which is another pivot point. So we have a bit of a choppy week ahead of us in terms of actual like economic data. From an earnings perspective, we are in the heat of it. If you don't know, IGV is the ETF that tracks the software sector. And the first big IGV component that reports, that's not Palantir, they're the biggest in there, is Datadog. So I would just say, guys, watch Datadog tomorrow morning. This one, 9 out of 10 times, something like that, sets the tone for the entire software sector. And it will move a lot of other companies with it. So heads up on that. Our hoodie, Tuesday after the close. You know, because of that, I don't know if we're probably not going to do Technical Tuesday, but maybe I'll get an invite to a midstream. You guys will probably know better than I do. But I would for sure show up to this one. Make sure you're on a Mid's channel if you're for Robinhood's. Yeah, I'm not going to be there because they always ask questions, like him, Tanner, Roy, the whole crew gets to ask questions. So they'll do their thing over there. And then Wednesday before the open, that's a big one. Shopify. This thing I had like sub 100 or around as close to like 110, I think. Really close. A lot of these things, I'll just say the setup coming into earnings for the software sector specifically, we're going to see some wild price action. There's no way that we don't see some wild price action. So things like Datadog at the absolute lows. I don't know what just happened. I just heard something. Oh, SPX. Yeah, our boys, 7,000 calls are flying right now. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, I have an invite? I do? I don't get to ask a question. Hood is streaming on Zoom. Are we going long Zoom? Today after the close? I don't know. Do it tonight. Oh, that's what something's happening. Hold on. I have orders going out. I have to check this. Oh, I had some trades on that are hitting profit. Okay, so for tonight, these guys know. I'm like, oh, I hear this. Ding, ding, ding. Can you hear it on stream? I have no idea. Yeah, we're cashing. So maybe. I'm in Zoom calls. I was just thinking of that. We got Zoom calls because Robinhood's going Zoom on reports after the bells. Look, this is so this is how massive this week is. we're getting, as we speak, a giant. Oh, we're still going higher, guys. We're going higher. We're getting a like vicious counter trend bounce. Some of these things, these can just rip your face off sometimes. So don't fight it right now. And then instantly, boom, Datadog, massive, like Robinhood. I mean, think about it this way. What if IGV is oversold and actually just priced incorrectly? And the economic data is good, or good for the markets rather. And what I'm talking about in that perspective is, if we get NFP that's low, by the way, you guys remember that that slide that was like, how many rate cuts are priced in? Think about it this way. We only have 2 rate cuts priced in. Our non-farm payroll numbers are coming in so low. 20, I think it's 40,000 jobs expected. Any bad number in this instance, bad news is good news. Just so you know, bad news is good news. And so if we come in light on this NFP and or CPI, what's going to happen? And the reason I have this screenshot here is this is going to change instantly. And there's all of a sudden going to be a new, like another rate cut priced in somewhere on this, because we don't have anything for late 2026 or all of 2027. And that's going to change. And that change will be a face ripper in the market, probably all the way back. Certain things will be high beta. I think it could be like a high beta rally. I went dumpster diving today. And I, if you're going to go dumpster diving, I feel like today's one of the days. I bought some, I went long IonQ. So I'm like, if I'm gonna go all the way, like if this is gonna be a high beta rally, I'm going in the deep end. But that's how it works sometimes. Did I buy back? No, I didn't. No, for me on Hood, I've actually just been buying. I've been buying ever since it came down below 90. I got a little bit of buys in at 69. True story. Not a lot. And I think after I was thinking about this, if I do anything, what I will do is I'll buy a 150 call against that $100 covered call to turn it into like a call credit spread. That's going to make money on both ends. So the $100 call is still going to be bleeding away, but at the same time, I'll be hedged for a bounce. Because look, a counter trend bounce on Robinhood, I already wrote it. 110 is just basic, very basic. A real counter trend bounce, 135. So I mean, you could make some money on some of these trades for sure. And yeah, check when I look at the CPI on Truflation, it was 0.6. Yeah. So that's a good resource for sure. You guys, yeah, come hang out with me and trade live with me, because it's even more fun. And we're still going higher, boys and girls. That's all I know, is that we're going up. Somebody cue the Netflix song, we're going up, whatever. All right, let me stop embarrassing myself now. But anyways, there we have it. Big day on the markets. Let me pull this. Actually, Evan, who's not here right now, but we always give Evan a little shout out. Does a little post on his on his feed of some market catalysts. So I want to take a quick look at this. So, by the way, this is actually Evan. He didn't dox himself, but this is actually Evan in front of that first Hood Summit. His favorite picture. I'm pretty positive that's actually Evan. So huge week for sure. Here's what I think. Look at this. DraftKings reports. It's Thursday after hours. Oh, we got Rivian too. Rivi. Did you guys, anybody see the CNBC special on my Rivi? Look, if you don't know by now, I'm not a Rivi goes into the investment bucket just like Hoodie for me. Yeah. This Rivi I love, but I'll say it's a big, massive transition year. If you saw there was a CNBC special with RJ. I think it was cool. any hiccup in production for the R2/R3 or their Georgia plant, I think this stock could get crushed. I could see as low as $10, but yeah, your boy's gonna be buying all of that. Period. End of story. I think when R2 releases, and I think R3 is scheduled for 2028. Last I checked. Look, R2 is $45,000. Yeah, I'm pretty positive I'm just buying one of these. I'm pretty positive. I'm just like, I don't even need it. I'm just gonna buy it and we're gonna film it. But yeah, it's 45,000. Dude, all Rivians are like 100 and something $1,000 right now. So this is a Model 3 type moment year for Rivian. Go back to Tesla. When Tesla was gonna get ready to do this Model 3, the hype, the anticipation was real. It was super choppy. It didn't play out for a year or so later. I think we're looking at the same kind of thing. And all the haters aside, I don't think it has to be Rivian versus Tesla, but let's be real. If you're an investor and you invest in the future, like future companies, does anybody really think that Tesla is going to be the only game in FSD forever? It's not. It's not. There's going to be others. And Rivian's the closest. And they're really close. So with the R2 and R3, 2026, 2027, 2028, they're going to be releasing something called Autonomy Plus, which is their subscription service. It is full self-driving. It's like level 4. So yeah, it's I don't really care that much for the near term, but 10x in 10 years, we'll see. That's my 2 cents. Could be wrong, could be right, but it's worth a shot to me. Yeah, heavy volatility on a lot of stuff. I don't even think, did PayPal even get a bounce? No love for the pain pal with the CEO ousted even. Not a bit of love. My God. That thing is so bad. No love for the pain pal. On semiconductor tonight, this is a big one. I don't know who that is. Dividend watch. Apple has a dividend. I have a trade on LVS. I'm eyeing IBM to the downside. I don't know. This one is not broken. We'll see. And then DraftKings and Flutter. This is tonight? No. Oh no. That's all shenanigans. So like LVS would actually be a good beneficiary of something like that. So earnings, Gilead, we got, dude, so many. I'm looking for catalysts. Analyst day, Bank of America, Brian Moynihan will appear at Bank of America Financial Services Conference. Investment day, CRMD, I don't really know that. Wells Fargo, UBS. So watch the financials. I think those are, huge bounces right now. T-Mobile, Shopify, FedEx Investor Day. UPS, I think last I checked, is looking better. Oh yeah, UPS is on the mend. Slow, but it's regained trend. UPS, I'm pretty sure that puts it in an uptrend. Yeah, full-blown uptrend now. If it can hold this. Holy moly. It's reversal time, bearish to bullish. So any pullback should be buyable as long as that holds like 110. Crazy. New York Fashion Week. Ralph Lauren, Capri, Tapestry. Yeah, so we got a lot of financials. We got midweek Fashion Week. I'm gonna watch Confluent. Oh, I'm probably gonna take IBM short. I see. This is why Thursday IBM merger with Confluent. They're gonna overpay. My 2 cents. I love IBM. IBM. The stock looks great, but anyways, Super Bowl commercials. I think that's it. Yeah, and this is Wednesday. Here is probably a little small. Non-farm payrolls consensus at this is consensus 70. I think the consensus is really 40,000 on a prior number of 50K. Look, we're used to seeing 200 something thousand on these non-farm payroll numbers. So huge day on Wednesday. Going to set the trend, and it's going to be locked in on Friday, whatever that trend is from there. I might, Mr. Beast bought a bank. I don't know. Do you guys want to do a webinar? We haven't done a webinar in forever, and we're finally back up to date on these non-farm payrolls. Probably not a bad idea. Give me a yes or a no. Y or N? Do we want to do a non-farm payroll webinar? We also updated our script too. So if you don't have access to that thing, I mean, people are banking on that indicator left and right. Just makes life so much easier. But if you guys want to do a non-farm payroll training free, I'm open to it. You just need a little feedback. So drop me a letter in the chat and we'll come back to it. I don't know how to run a poll. Here. Yeah, first vote is no. Followed by a bunch of Y's. Connie says yes. Well, Connie gets like a double vote, right? I'm partial because that's my mother's name, so I'll never forget Connie. All right. The first vote was no, like instantly overwhelmed, and then he votes no twice. I love it. Are we due for a 10% pullback? Look, and Tony, here's how that works. If we're going to have a pullback, they're going to start talking about a 10, 15% correction. It's midterm year. So the answer to your question is yes, we are due. But the problem with trading towards that, something like that right now, is that 10, 15% is nothing, right? And by the time we're due for it, and CNBC and whoever is saying, oh, we're due for it, we're already be in it. It'll already be happening. And so it'll be too late by the time people are actually talking about it. And you know, if you ask me, are we due? We're due. But is it a big deal? No, because if you took that approach now, the thing is, what if, just food for thought, what if we're 20% higher by the time we get a 10 to 15% pullback from here? You don't know, right? So we just had a bit of a pullback, 50% on a lot of these software stocks. That could be good enough for right now. But if you always think, are we due for a 10% pullback? Look, on SPY, if SPY 700, 10% of $700 is $70. That would put it at 630. I mean, what if the pullback doesn't happen until we're at 8,500 or 850? What if the 10% pullback happens at 850 SPY, and then we pull back $85 from there? That pullback is what is that, 770, something like that? We're still higher at the bottom of that pullback than we are today. So that just be aware, you gotta be cautious with some of that stuff. But anyways, let's do this. Before we get in the charts, TTD, no love, yeah. Before we get into the charts, we do gotta check in. I don't have to, but we don't mind checking. We check in with our good friend, and let's have a look-see at what Miss Cleo has dropped for us today. So let's get on with the show. All right. Miss Cleo is here. Clearly, I have not looked at this. Doesn't matter. Yeah. So this is for comedic relief, if you will. She gives us the T in TA, which obviously stands for tarot. It does not stand for technicals, clearly. You know, she don't like it. That's all I can say. I don't read these things like she does, but I'll just say this is how it works. We get a theme card here, top for the week, and then we get a card for every day of the week. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 days of the week. You know, I don't know. I have been known to inverse Miss Cleo on a fairly regular basis, just FYI. And I'm feeling, I don't know. I'll say so far we're in line. Whereas like this is Monday's card, cool, 4 of Wands, 10 of Pentacles. She is actually thinking like blow off top, all-time high, 10 of Pentacles. And then Judgment, which is in range, on Wednesday. That's NFP day. Death for Thursday. Listen, death to who? I think that's what we really have to ask. Maybe it's death to the Bears if I wanted to actually be bullish. But 10 of Swords, I don't know, man. That's just not like, look at this guy. Maybe it's death to the Bears. I'm going to go with that. I'm just going to go with that. We'll see. But this is how it works, right? So I'm going to read the actual write-up because I don't know what I'm talking about, but this is what she wrote. So theme card is the 6 of Swords. The Chariot may have been the last bit of crazy energy before we enter a period of transition. I'm just saying transition. We've been going down on a lot of these stocks. So maybe it's the transition to up. I don't know. 6 of Swords has been bailing, has us bailing on our existing setup in order to cut our losses and find a path forward. We're moving away from what's comfortable and forced to face a new reality. I have no idea, guys. I have no idea. So this can mean a move to chop after a clear trend or a move to trend after chop. Okay, move to chop after clear trend, quite likely here. More applicable, right? We've been up and down nonstop, though still climbing higher. True. Maybe this week brings a decisive move that helps us better plan for the future. Maybe not, but maybe. So today she says this is a homecoming card, which what does that mean? Homecoming card, which implies a move down before an attempt to rally. I mean, there was this very small blip down. So, okay, cool. I buy an overnight or early session dip and ride the wave a bit. Yeah, I'm with that. I do the same. It usually closes near flat or better, but I would not chase too far into the afternoon. Watch for impulsivity. Let me just see our SPY. We still going up? We kind of topped out a little bit. Still time. But anyways, so Tuesday, we're at non-farm payroll level. This is January NFP. Shoot. Tuesday, 10 of Pentacles. We move from 4 to 10, suggesting a continuation day that sets up some retracement on Wednesday. Don't hate it. It does have a bullish bias. The pattern I see is that if we somehow mean revert, we see continuation on Wednesday. If we continue today, we mean revert on Wednesday. So today is less about a day trade and more about a swing setup. Miss Cleo swinging into non-farm payrolls. Okay. Judgment Day, Wednesday. That's fair. Today we get clarity. Yes, we do. That may enable a greater understanding of where the market is headed this month. Well, sometimes I feel like I don't know. You have it's just too perfect right there, right? It's a little too perfect. You have instructions from Tuesday's reading, but I will add that this one likes to follow the direction of the sum of the past 5 trading days. Barring a string of green days before Wednesday, I think we get some red here. Well, we'll see. It has a 75% chance of closing within 0.5% of the open. Wow. That means flat. And then Thursday is death, which I think means new life, right? Doesn't death mean new? I think that means, all right, this card should be change in the form of it's rebirth and a second chance. As a big green bias, I will say non-farm payroll day Wednesday. I don't know that's a flat, but if we get a trend on a non-farm payroll day, we will usually close the day on the absolute highs or the absolute lows. And if we do get something like that, that opens red and or opens green and just closes deep red, intraday, don't fight it. But at the close, yeah, go ahead and flip that switch because she ain't staying that way. not usually. Or vice versa. If we open red and just go green all day, we'll probably close at the highs, but don't press that bet. Maybe even inverse that. But anyways, this card, Thursday, change to rebirth, a second chance. It has a green bias and can really get up and move. This, to me, signals that any blood chasers going into Thursday could be in trouble. Yep. That tracks. The worst case for bulls is likely, dude, that's bullish. That's bullish. So Friday, 10 of swords, it's our second 10 of the week and our fourth version of an ending card. This is CPI day. This one signals final and inevitable death. To who? That's who we don't know. Final and inevitable death to who? There's nothing that we could have done to avoid it. Okay. Oh, continuation is likely, but it should set up a few days of mean reversion early next week. Look for overexposed traders to get wiped out. Definitely don't be overexposed this week. Be very careful. Treasury and deception are in the air. So recap is, as with crypto, which I didn't read, this looks like a difficult week to trade, unless you have a system. There will be lots of fun for day traders, but swing traders will have to be nimble in order to properly enter and exit trades. I will say, swing traders, this is not your week. Next week and after is. So with that, I'm going to go to my trusty 30-minute chart and we'll kind of open this up. So SPY, this is where we are right now. This is a bit, oh yeah, we're right into resistance. If I turn our non-farm payroll like levels on, there we are. This is January NFP right here. That's right now. What I will say is that we have an open right on this January level. And so that would be the target right there. So level to level very clearly, but that's probably it. I mean, if we do press, we could press a little bit, but I don't know that it comes back down. Best case scenario is if tomorrow we open somewhere in here and then we pull back and we hold that 69.50 and then we get a rebound like that. So that's very much like what I'd be looking at. February NFP, we're going to edit this. Actually, I probably can update this right now. Update. And yeah, there it is. It's gone. And then we'll get the next NFP on Wednesday. So for now, there's a little fair value, 697. I mean, we're pennies away. We are pennies away from all-time highs. So doesn't feel like that, huh? Really doesn't feel like that. But let's check in with the Qs and see where we are, because I think that one's going to be a little bit more important. So we're not even close on QQQ. This is a 30-minute trend. And I still have all of our, so 619.08 right here. Right here. Basically retest the bottom of this range. If QQQ can get up over and hold 619.08, I mean, we should be able to chop through there. I don't want to see 613 get lost. So we should be able to get up into that, which will retest that this is like this downtrend from here. So we should get up in there, retest 619. And it's from there that we'll really know. If we can hold over 619, let's say we do something like this that pulls back and you get open like that, and then you get 627.88 is the biggest level. If we're trending over 627.88 on the Qs, it is over. And we are going back to the highs. And where we're going to make new highs. We're not there yet, but lock those numbers in. It's 627.88 for QQQ. Let me see if I can make this bigger. Huge. 627.88 for QQQ. That's January NFP's high. That's massive resistance up there. Basically, if we get opens above and we start closing above that, which is not too far away, then we're in the clear. Otherwise, everything else here, truth be told, is what we would call a counter trend bounce or counter trend. So we are definitively counter trend right now because actually the trend is down. We have a series of lower highs. This is not really a lower low though. So it's a toughie. I could easily see us retesting that, but even a bounce can do this, and then we could get that. So just be super cautious. We are going to retest these areas a little bit more, not a lot, a bit more. And on the left-hand side of my screen, you can see this. This is where there's a lot of trap buyers up in this area. So we're going to get into a little bit trouble. From the lows up to there, I think is the easiest piece, the safest, simplest trades. Everything here, that is the definition of a counter trend bounce up into resistance. And then do we hold or do we fail? That's the question. So the trend is not intact for the Qs. It's definitively sideways, and we're about to get, honestly, this is a setup for a big move sooner than later. One chart I'm going to pull out and note is the dollar index, so the Dixie. This one has been this little counter trend bounce to the upside, was this debasement trade kind of pullback. And this failure on the dollar to go lower, this is probably why we're seeing silver. What's silver doing today? Just, decent pullback, decent rebound, little bounce off the lows. I think that's, if the dollar continues down, let's just look at gold. Yeah, no structural break at all on gold here. None. HG is copper futures. So the debasement trade, look, alive and well, based on the dollar. So this guy, counter trend bounce, that's what a counter trend bounce looks like, by the way. It's big, it's massive, it's violent, it rips your face off. It goes right into resistance, which was here, right? And it's an epic failure pretty quickly. So we want to be very cautious because this is what some of these stocks are about to do. But this bounce, it's very tradable. Is it investable? It's not yet. So I think that's the biggest difference from here. Like if you were going to be bullish on the dollar, you'd want to see this lock some kind of higher low like that, which is probably going to retest this area. Super typical. So if you wanted to be bullish on something and you see a big violent counter trend rally that expect it to pull back, you expect it to do this. And then from there, you're looking, do you lock a higher low? That's going to be the most important thing. So as we rally, that's cool. Just know it's counter trend, meaning the trend is not like crazy on some of these things. So probably like a time to take faster profits than normal is what I would say. Because you never know when this is going to show up. But if these lower highs do lock in, we're in for a bit more, at least sustained bounce, if not starting to have the volatility go away and get real direction to show up. Just looking at the rest of this crude, the VIX is sitting at 16s. IWM, I'm in this back to the EPSCI. I think we're getting close. I think we could see a little bit higher here. Oh yeah, we're at the highs. IWM barely a pullback this afternoon, right back to the highs. This one stand out, this in the Dow Jones. So the fact that we're seeing this continue, IWM, which is what I'm looking at, right off this little bounce, I mean, that's a good sign. Dow Jones 50K plus. The biggest thing is going to be something called the RSP, which is, I mean, there you go. So the RSP, if you don't know, is the equal weight S&P. So this is your broadening chart is what that is. So typical SPY and whatever is market cap weighted. So meaning like the bigger your market cap, the higher the weight that you have in the index. So like Nvidia, Apple, Google, the Mag 7, if you will. If those go and everything else were to tank, SPY would probably go higher, but RSP would not. And what this chart is representing is the health underneath everything else, regardless of the Mag 7. You know, Nvidia, it's bouncing, it's 190s. It's a nothing burger, to be fair. You know, Nvidia is fine for an investment. It's not really going to do anything for you in terms of like massive alpha. But if that and let's say Microsoft, Amazon come back to life, but IWM and the Dow Jones continue to do their thing, RSP, which is what we're looking at here, this guy will absolutely outperform. And even if all the Mag 7 were to come down and the smaller companies were to go up, this equal weighted ETF, this RSP, will also go higher. So this is a gauge. It's also something you can own if you're maybe not so into the Mag 7 outperforming, and you are into the broadening kind of trend. That is RSP, but this is good. It's a little extended, but there are honestly no signs of this stopping right now. I have this to like 215 plus, which is quite a bit higher for this ETF. That's like, I could see 10% on RSP from here, which would put us at all-time highs. So, you know, maybe we already had our correction, maybe we didn't, but after this week, we'll know for sure. Everything between now and the end of the week is kind of like fake. Everything is kind of fake until then. All right. So I got some requests here. These guys. And I'm going to do, we got like a couple minutes until power. So we'll just do a couple. I think ETH and BTC. So Ethereum, if you don't know, 18.5. Here's what it was. 1850 even was kind of my level. And that came from this little area right here. And as much as I'd like to say we stopped on a dime, I guess depending on your brokerage, we didn't. It was like $100 lower in truth, which is perfectly fine. But long term, it's a bounce spot. I think it's definitely a bounce spot. Where to, this could get up to like 20, over 25s and have a crazy oversold like counter trend rally. That's going to retest the bottom. So here's this current trend up here. You know, you basically breached it. So the breach on Ethereum was around 28. So this is a counter trend move. If you got a bounce all the way up to 2,800, look, that's a lot. It's $1,000 on Ethereum. It's also 60% not out of the weeds. So you can get a counter trend bounce 60% from the lows on something like Ethereum and not be out of the weeds. This is what I'm talking about. You can get that. Is it a good spot? Yeah, for sure. Anything down there on ETH, depending on your time frame, is fine. But Ethereum is crazy. You gotta be somewhat cautious there because it is all crypto is like the rawest form of supply and demand. So you can see, you can really see anything happening. But this is, to me, in that consolidation, having broken down, we can easily retest that broken trend and come back down. But that takes you 27 to like 3K even. And it's not going to be until it's up over 3K, believe it or not, that you'll know if you're in the clear or not. So there's a long ways to go on Ethereum. I know it sounds like a lot, but it doesn't actually take a lot for something like that to get there. So look, it can be choppy. 2100 doesn't matter. Doesn't hit anybody's radar. You should expect 2100 of a bounce. It's not a significant level. It's where a lot of people sold. So this is 2100 where we are right now, 21 and a quarter. If this is holding over this is a baby bounce, a baby 10% bounce. You want to see something like this. And so over 21, call it 21 and a half. That's when you know, hey, you're going to get a bigger counter trend move. Still counter trend, but you're going to get a bigger bounce for sure. Biddy did hit my 60 something right here. Retest this point of control. I don't care about Bitcoin, but yeah, I think you can get a bounce here, and that goes all the way up to 85. So Bitcoin can bounce up to 85, 70. If this stops somewhere at like 75 and just can't get off its behind, that's bad, right? But so like that's retesting here, if you will. So you should at least get a bounce to 75, maybe get a little bit of a pullback, and then expect that to 85. Cool. But you don't want this losing 70 again. That's what you don't want. This can come back and retest 70 and do that. That's fine. But this is the same as everything else. You got to look at the last low on Thursday. Say, hey, look, anything in here, probably buyable dip, even if it pulls back to there, that's all possible, plausible. But you got to put a hard line in the sand under Thursday's low, because a pullback here is into the 40s. On Biddy, but I think that's it. That's definitely it for right now. So expect a bounce to where I think you can see all the way up to 85 in probably short order, and still be very counter trend. A lot of requests for Amazon. So Amazon, I think I had 285 on the downside. We got to 200. This is a decent round number. This one. So again, zoom out, look left. Pretty basic. But look left, find a little inflection point, meaning like where does price touch a lot in the past? 211 here, we got a big consolidation. That's where we are, right? So this 211, not the still reserve, but the number is a bit of an inflection point. What I would say is super simple. Here is the earnings candle for Amazon. I would take my little fib tool, left to right, and just do a basic retracement. 212.31 is your basic dead cat bounce, bear flag. That's a bear flag if this breaks down any lower. So you don't really want to see that happening, because 185, 188 is very possible. This one post earnings is fine. I think this could actually go all the way up to 217 and still do that, just so you know. That this super normal. So I would just taper any expectations. Even if this bounces to 217, I think is just basic. But this invalidates if you get over 217 and holds. We have a little bit of resistance here. 215. This is that prior kind of like shelf. So I see a lot of buyers and sellers around this 215. So I'd expect at least 215 to bounce, but just know very much counter trend. Can fail on you at any moment. So if you want to be safer, you need to wait till it's higher, and probably like over 217. At that point, I think we see all the way up to 225s plus or higher, and then we can kind of like level out and remain intact. But this is setting up for a potential bear flag, just so you know. Do I think it's actually, I don't actually think that's going to happen, just as an aside. But that is, that's what the chart says. I think fundamentals will come in line. We'll know post Wednesday. I think it's cheap. Well, I think it's fair. And honestly, if I saw 189s, 190s, I would probably be buying it and not really caring. So just there you have it. From a trading perspective, technical perspective, look, we're at resistance. We're going to retest that. Definitely broken trend. I would expect some exhaustion. I actually wouldn't trade it, a whole lot of it. I think that's a waste of your time to trade. But AMD, different story. So big breakdown after earnings so AMD is a week before Amazon, right? So I think this week, let Amazon breathe. It's just gonna chop you up. It could go higher, but you have better trades. AMD, here's this uptrend that we have. And they're all counter trend. This guy broke this near-term level, but today, right off, clearly barely over here. This was actually support on AMD. I took a trade on AMD to go long, and 227 is that prior all-time high from over here. That was the key pivot that we just kind of lost. So I think this has a little bit more. I'd say like 225s up to 227. At 227, look out, right? Because you're going to get a lot of pressure at 227. It could easily do that, and that's still your little bear flag, or it could do this. So the trading range from here, you got a couple more bucks. This is technically long, but it is counter trend. And you want to see this really reclaim 227 and hold. Like, even if it does this, expect this kind of a bounce chop and then continue on its merry way. 300 was my target on AMD from a technical perspective off this last consolidation. I think it's still actually in the cards, especially if it can reclaim this prevailing uptrend, because right here, slightly broken, but it's going to it's basically going to try and reclaim this trend. Barely reclaimed it today. So tomorrow, actually, AMD can have like a big open. It's very possible. Very possible. Corning, yeah. Shout out our crew. This is not one I would have been on my radar, but my God, this thing, I think it's going to be the SanDisk Micron 2.0. This thing is just gone. It's out of the park. It's off the charts. It's off the screen. It's out of the park. It's a home run, baby. I think it is a home run. I'm not joking. I legit think it's a home run. Who knows? You would have thought we would get a little bit more of a pullback. We're just not. From here, I got extensions to 230 to 135 and then some. But this thing, here's a stock that doesn't move like barely at all until it does, right? And if you guys have known Micron for forever, also that kind of stock, it doesn't move. It didn't historically. It was like $45 stock, 45, 65, 85. And like in that range, this is Micron. Micron was like this for years. I say like, $100. Before that, it was over here. It doesn't really move until it does. And it's changing the characteristic of this stock as a whole and the way that it trades. So I don't think you want to dismiss Corning at all. So it's become a bigger position than I intended. And I think it stays that way. 100 billion market cap, something like that. 112 right now. It's got room. Broadcom, big bounce. This is one heavy market cap. So Broadcom has definitely bounced right into resistance right here. So I think that trade's over. That is the definition of a counter trend rally, right into resistance. the bounce trade. Now you can expect this to get stuck in between the 20 and the 50-day SMAs, which it hit its head on the 50-day today. Point of control for this is 340, 339. So I can see this. You want to give this a break. You have earnings coming on Broadcom. I expect a little bit of pullback. That 20-day SMA is probably going to catch up. And this is probably where it goes for the next week or so. It's not going to do anything to the stock. And I think you get a little bit of a counter trend rally right before earnings. That does take it back to where it is today. But anything over 360 is suspect. I think you got a good bounce off the lows. But anything over 360 is suspect for now. And what we got to do is say there is a key level, and it is 360. So 360 is, even if it goes higher, 360 is maximum. I'd say 360 is max. That's it. I am wrong if it's over 360 and then it goes to 375, and then we're actually talking about a recovery over three. It's not until it's over 380. So if Broadcom's holding over 380, let's go higher. But I think that's the range. This is the box to me that Broadcom kind of lives in for a while it grows into that multiple. Elf. No. I don't like this. I mean, unless your time horizon is like 10 years and you don't have a better place that you can think of for your money. I don't think it's going down much more, but it ain't going up. You're going to have at least 2 months of sideways price action on this guy. Well, a lot of Amazon requests, man. It was huge. Micron. Look, if this is lost 400, you're sitting on the 200-day right now. It's actually not that great, but there's a pivot. The line of the sand is 396 here. So if Micron can get and trade over this area, it's back on the mend. The problem I have with Micron right now is that if you look across the market, I'll make it simple. Look across the market. There's a lot of bigger discounts at this moment in time than Micron or even SanDisk or whatever, where this can go sideways actually. And it doesn't have to break down. It doesn't have to break out, or it doesn't have to continue on its merry way. This can go sideways for a considerable period of time and have everything else catch up. And by the time everything else is catched up, maybe this catches a break. But in this box, I would, between 396 and 360 in general, I would expect that this is the lows for now, 362. But this looks heavy. This looks like it's going to come down. If it breaks below this 360 area, then you're looking at $300 retest, which to me is also perfectly fine, right? From the highs of 460, look, with this kind of momentum, it's not a big deal. But that's a 35% drawdown on Micron to 300. I would not be interested personally until it's in this general area. But losing the 20-day SMA right now, here's the thing. If we do get a breakdown in the market, as a trader, this would be one of your primary targets to go back down to where it came as a trader. Not a fundamental, has nothing to do with that. But this is heavy. This does not look great. I'd steer clear for right now. SanDisk, similar. Western Digital, on the other hand, this one looks different. Probably because it's SSD and not just memory. Maybe this one looks different. I'm not sure why it looks different, but this one, like if this is the 1, 2, third retest, usually the fourth retest is a little bit, or a third failure is a little bit heavier. It might need to come down a little bit more. But that's all I'm talking about. Like if there was something like this on Western Digital, like a little liquidity grab down there, that's basically the same equivalent as a Micron at 300. Micron 300 is nothing for the chart's velocity right now. Yeah, dude, corny. How do you trade with me live? If you join the, like, grab the apprenticeship, hop in. Thing is, like, a lot of stuff. The thing about trading with us live is that if you're a rookie or like you're new or you don't have like a good fundamental grasp on trading, it's gonna be kind of like tough because I'm gonna be in real trades with my real money on the line. You guys, we have it open so that anybody can ask questions, but we don't have the time in a live session to answer like some crazy questions, or too many, because you got real stuff on the line, and we're really trading. So for that reason, we want you to take the apprenticeship first. So how do you do that? Super simple. Just go to papergains.com, or if you want to go straight in and book a call, it is right there for the link. Can you do hoodie with, yeah, well, just rewind, and it's like 110 is resistance. Did I not show it? I could show it to you guys. So there's a little gap on hoodie right here. 98. Nice round number, right? $70, by the way. For me, I had this level before, and I took this low and went up to this high right there. So this low here to that high. This area, low 70s, I like broadcasted low 70s, low 70s, low 70s. It's a beautiful retracement. Beautiful retracement. So minimum bounce, we go to 90s, low 90s, minimum. I'll see that. And we're really close to it. I mean, we have earnings tomorrow night. So by tomorrow, sometime between now and earnings, I should see a 9 handle on this. That is not out of the weeds. Not out of the weeds. What I would really honestly expect is something like this. It's going to take a while. So let earnings digest, to me, which is why I wouldn't, not really. And I earn like options. If you're an options trader, shit prices right now when you have earnings coming like in the next day or two. So if you're not an expert with that and you don't know how to calculate implied versus whatever, like premiums on options, I don't mean volatility. Just stay away because they're expensive right now. But 110 here, we'll do it this way. If that was the low, what I'm going to do is the opposite. I'm going to take from the high, 155 high, to the $70 low. If we're over 91, this is how this works. If we're over 91, then I know that we're going to be on the mend. That's what's important. And I can get a counter trend bounce to 111. You guys see this? 111. And at 111, which, by the way, is over 50% from the lows, 60% off the lows. At 111, I'm only 50% back of what I've lost. Definition of counter trend, right? So at that point, look, this is a tradable range from 91 to 111. It's decent. And then if you can get over that, you have another tradable range up to 125. This is where a bigger counter trend bounce can really show up. You got a lot of work on the Robinhood. So we got a lot of work here to do to make up ground. The acceleration on fintech has just been like insane. But this area, if you're over 1 11 up to 130s, 125s, high 120s, up to high 120s. That's more of like a, okay, I want to take measures up here. I don't really want to take measures down here, but you know, if I have $100 cover calls, I don't actually need to buy them back either, because what I just say, like, we can come all the way up to 110 and be a very counter trend bounce. And if I chop around this way for a while, you know, that's really good for cover calls. That's really good for cover calls. That's like bankable. So for that reason, no, I don't really want to. I would just add at the lows. If we lose the $70, it's going to get ugly. I'll just put it that way. It's going to get $50 ugly. Do I think that we get there? No, I'm pretty sure that we bottom. I don't know why this would happen. That would be like, yeah, go reverse mortgage the house. Go for it. But, you know, if until then we can chop in this area, 76 would be a great pullback to hold on Robinhood. So if we see that, your lower high, 76 now on Robinhood, I would hold it there. Hold the line at 76. That's what I want. Call me. Get into the server and I'll see you there. SoFi, we can do SoFi because it's in a similar sector. Look, fintech typically bottoms first. SoFi, you guys know what support was, low 24s. Look, from wherever this was, good God, 1850. From 1850 lows to 24s, 25s, that's like 35% bounce. That's absolutely tradable. We're retesting, but the higher we go, the more caution you need to have. So this was my prior, I think this was like an old broadening formation. Yeah, so I had SoFi, very big broadening formation. Actually breached the first one, came in retested. So I think you let this breathe a bit. We'll do the same kind of exercise here. But these are the ones, Robinhood and SoFi, are going to have a lot of beta. SoFi didn't even get that deep, actually. They're going to have a lot of beta. If this is holding 20 and a half, 2058, this is probably going to be good. And 25 and a half right there is a counter trend bounce. So you can do this and still be in a downtrend. Your trend is here. So all I'm saying is, like, you could take from the highs, these things are in downtrends, but we're just reclaiming the bottom end of the downtrend channel here, right? This that I just outlined, super typical. That could be a month, could be a week, could be a couple weeks. And then you got to be cautious of continuing. So we don't want to see this. So do you want to short the whole? No, that was Thursday. So give this a little bit of breathing time, wait for the next trade to set up, but stay long if you caught it. I think this is perfectly acceptable here. But anything after that is kind of speculation, but I can actually see this from here up to 20. That's good. That's not bad. So, but this has to hold like this low 20s, which is not a big deal. But all right, we got about 30 minutes left. I'm going to call it for now, guys. I appreciate you. I'll call Amit. I don't know if we're going to do another one back to back. I got to get some trades in. So maybe, just maybe, but we'll see. All right. Until then, Asta, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace out.